Hello and welcome to Sim Strategy Gaming. I'm Sim. This episode will be about the fourth chapter of Empire Railway 2. We play as the lady. Her abilities let us buy and upgrade industries and rural businesses cheaper. This ability comes handy only later in the game, making her a perhaps harder character to play. Still, she offers an interesting and a little bit different playstyle, putting more emphasis on controlling the sources of goods and perhaps less on the whimsical private enterprises. Starting out as usual, we will connect all the cities that we have access to by two-way track going back and forth, and also including all the necessary resources, the resources that there are demand for, very little demand for fruit and vegetables yet. I had to skip on this sugar resource, but we will catch up very soon as we get these connection bonuses rolling in as fast as possible. One note on this, it looks a bit weird when there's no circle here, there's no line, it just goes up and down. And much of the reason for this is that sometimes it's cheaper to do it like this, and another reason here is that we cannot demolish this. This is stuck like it is, and we have to deal with the peculiar placement of the Austin station throughout the game. Looking at the tech, we have advanced a little bit since last chapter. We now have access to the Mastodon, the kind of nice freight train, and also the Brooks Mogul, which are very, very good, very popular train. Might be aiming for this Glen later on, put on some really nice express trains. Otherwise, we will have this express train is perhaps a little bit outdated now, so we will aim for this before we create any dedicated express lines as such. This one, the Shay class, is not so very much better than the Mastodont, and there is the option to go underneath here, and we might explore that and then skip on this. We will see that later. Then 1 year later, we have bought up an extra concession here and been able to complete one full circle around Boston, Shreveport, Dallas, and another one, smaller one here, but still very important one that contains many cities. And then in order to expand upon this and see what we can do inside of the circles, and I built upon an extra circle that goes in and picks up these resources here in the middle, and then yet another circle inside the first circle that is sort of connected so that the two inner circles go together and meet here in this resource. And then it's very important to have a hotel here. You can also add upon a warehouse for goods and such, but particularly this that this isn't a dedicated freight line. It picks up passengers going back and forth, so making it more profitable. Looking at our mission objectives, you can see that mostly concerns around developing the East Texas region, which will come along nicely as we put it up like this. We added upon an extra line here to connect Corpus Christi and Brownsville. Brownsville is sort of independent now. We can increase this build later on, but for now this will suffice. Can have a short look at the flow of goods, say with lumber now that this is moving. We don't have any lumber here, and on this map much of the resources are kind of unevenly distributed, so that we don't really have any cloth yet. None of these cities are getting their cloth because all the cloth is far away here. We don't have money to reach these regions yet. And all the we have access to lumber, but then only in the northern regions. Down here in the south, no lumber at all. So we need to rely on warehouses to transport the lumber through these different circles, these zones, and so there is no lumber inside of here, and then all the lumber is there, and then the lumber goes through this zone, this circle without lumber, and then further on down here, and then reaches all the way to Brownsville, who are being supplied. You can see here now, even lumber is coming. They have enough lumber, and then one more lumber is coming in through this warehouse system. So it seems to be working fine. See, these warehouses are mirror of each other. And then now, of course, we are playing as the industrialists. So looking at the industries we can buy, we see that now we have several opportunities to build businesses. They are a bit expensive, but her abilities allow us to develop them at least more cheaply. Also buying these resources there would be cheaper, but still there is a lot of room here for expansion. And we might choose to neglect her abilities for some time still, and then rather go for a very rapid expansion of all of these areas and see if we can as well be able to fulfill our mission objectives. First of all, we're going to make a lot of money, and with that money, later on, we will be able to do whatever we choose, and then we can start an industrial adventure a little bit later. So here we are, 9 months later or so. We have been able, with a very rapid expansion strategy, to include all the cities and pretty much all the resources on the map. Through different set of circles, we recognize we haven't done anything here since last. Expanded this Corpus Christi line a little bit over here, yes, in order to be connected it to Jackson, in order to sort of connect these eastern areas with the western areas where we started. Been able to complete kind of a big circle here, but it's entirely flat. So then, even though it's long distances, it's a good circle. Has 13 trains, I think, going round and around. Pretty full. Little long haul, but this is paying off nicely. And then there is this area here with little cities and how to connect these middle portions of the map so that the east and west sort of communicates. We could have done this by several straight lines. We have already built the straight line here from Jackson, Jackson Brownsville. But in between here, I wanted a circle here in my competitor's zone. But then to connect that properly, I built a circle in between so that Memphis is connected to Carter, and then down to Malone and Howard and Iman. But there aren't any other cities. And with this circle, there aren't any cities at all. It's just Iman, Stewart, Ward. And then to make this profitable, it wouldn't be enough to just have this going as freight lines, but all of these connection points are equipped now with hotels, which are soon to be profitable. And then the trains will go round and around here and pick up both passengers and goods and deliver this back and forth through the different economic zones that includes the cities. Cities, of course, being the source of the revenue. There wouldn't be any passengers at the hotels if there weren't for the cities. But then, say, with people going from Nashville, for example, they would then go to Memphis and switch trains, and then go over here, say, to Malone, and then further on to Sherport, and then back online. And then they will have passed through the east-west sort of barrier here. That's sort of the challenge of this game, how to overcome the barrier between. We now can see that with all our circles here, this different type, we have a lot of money coming in. Things are really starting to look up. So we have the choice between now getting into the industrial adventure right away, really properly using the latest abilities. But still, it is a little bit expensive. We have bought some. We needed this sawmill to complete our mission objective. So at least some industry is needed here. But we can see that even now, early, and it's not that long since I put up these lines, but still they're becoming red. And that means that there are too much for the trains to do. If it's green, the capacity is way below limit. Yellow is pretty much in between, good. And red is really profitable. It means that the trains are full, but still it also means that they are not able to perhaps pick up all the goods for all the passengers. So then if we expanded all of our network and doubled all of our lines, we could make a real killing. And we can see now that these cities have stopped growing, and it's not because they aren't connected, but because we don't have enough trains. As the cities grow, this Austin has reached 80,000 inhabitants. It demands growth. The need for more resources of what it already had been demanding is also growing. It needs more and more of what it used to have, and then it needs new stuff as well. And then it's producing more passengers. So the trains, even though the trains prioritize freight, they will often be filled with passengers if it's a mixed line. And then they might be full when the order is sort of put out, and then they will not be able to bring all the goods in the end. So choosing now between whether or not we should get into industry or build more lines, I think I'm going to build even some more lines. We're still good with our mission objectives. One more year, yes, we're gonna make this soon. Yeah, it might have bring us more points in the end if we have gone for more industry at this point, but then I think I'm gonna go for more money. So then, 6 months later, we've been able to afford to upgrade all of our lines. The map still looks pretty much the same, built a little bit extra here and there, but the main thing that we have done is to double all the lines. You see now here it's entirely full. These lines go up here to San Antonio, and then also a double or triple line, double of the back and forth going. So then 4 lines like this, 2 set of these back and forths. So then there will be 2 lines there, 1 line on each double back and forth rail. So, and then we built, also doubled this inner circle. I should perhaps not have done that. Now we have too much capacity on these smaller circles inside. Well, I perhaps should have, rather than add double here, I could add triple here and then keep this single. Looking at the things that we have been able to complete, we have added this, started on our industrial adventure, so then we would need to bring coal and iron, not to Austin. I thought Austin was a little difficult for a placement of the iron steel industry. 1 iron resource can only support 1 steel mill. So then we can only, since we only have 1 iron, we can only have 1 steel mill, and I rather wanted it here, closer to the places that we are going to deliver our steel. We're going to build this bridge over here from Vermont to New Orleans, and then to have it here in Sherport between the iron and the coal up here, and also this coal resource double set here, bringing it in here. I thought that was better than having it down here in Austin. So I spent some money on buying things, buying industries, using the latest ability, as well as doubling these lines to make sure to have a good flow of goods and to be able to complete our now missions. First to deliver tools to Austin, and then later on to deliver steel and planks for the bridge building project. Tools will be produced in Houston, also this factory, and also added upon here, canning factory. So now that steel will be coming down to Houston and then further on delivered to Austin to complete our task. Comment on other things to be building inside circles. We had this solution for building something with a hotel inside of a zone circle. Here I just added a new circle inside. The circle is pretty similar. We have one circle going through Archer here and one circle going through Parker, but they're both going around the same cities. Inside this Jackson, Pensacola thing, I had two resources left in the middle. So then I built for this line that goes from Jackson to Montgomery, and then one from Pensacola to New Orleans. And then it goes through both of these resources in the middle, both equipped with hotels, so that passengers as well as goods can go back and forth inside of this circle. Been able to complete our competitors area, building this solution over here so that it can sort of go back and forth. And then we have two lines going from Knoxville to Fayetteville, but we also have a circle inside here coming from Memphis through these resources, Atlanta, Knoxville, and then it goes up to Knoxville and then just straight down from Knoxville to Nashville through this gridiron solution that we can see over here. Expanded upon some clay resource. Clay is pretty much the same as with iron. It needs one resource, one clay resource. It supplies one ceramics factory up here, yes. And then also needs coal coming in. So now coal are coming in through here, picking up some clay as well, also bringing in the wool, and then all the way to Atlanta. Well, it also picks up passengers from Tallahassee and Pensacola and some, doing not too much, but not too little to keep it controlled and also profitable. So, and then how to transport all these goods through all these different cities will be much the same. We have to put up warehouses in between all these zones, these circles, and bring the goods back and forth as needed. It is a little bit complex, and one has to be very careful that these things aren't starting to go back and forth in some crazed out manner. So now if I were to put up a lot of wheat in these warehouses, things will soon start to become very messy. Now, let's see what happens now. Now wheat is going back and forth in all directions. We can see now here in Houston, for example, we are picking up wheat down here from San Antonio, and then bringing it all the way over to Jackson, and then further on to Montgomery. While Montgomery should be served by this resource down here immediately close to it, but now it has the opportunity to pick up wheat from somewhere else. And we should avoid this. You can see the same with Jackson and such. It's now in these back and forth lines, horrible things. Then wheat is now picked up from here and going all the way over to here to several warehouses and then back again. This should be avoided. One needs to have simple, clean lines. It's not so very clean, but still, well, should work okay. I have to check on these warehouses routinely to see if things are starting to pile up or something is wrong here. This is good. This is just plus. It's small storage and soon to be picked up, and more goods are coming in. Green numbers. It's good.
It's done. The Sunset Route will go down in history as something very special. And both of us with it. You have achieved great things here. Hats off.
And so, then we made it. 2.7 years, not too bad. Not too bad of a score. Could have made it more. Could have been emphasizing more of the mission objectives. We're not getting any points for being rich, only for completing objectives and completing them fast. So then, let's see what we did in the end. Looking at our mission objectives, we see that we were able to fulfill them and to build a proper rail line. And by the end, building this New Orleans, Vermont line over here. We were able to, after completing all these rails and such, I didn't add upon so much more and rather went into the industrial adventure, buying up all these factories and such, and securing that, trying at least to secure that they get all the goods that they are needing, and being able to ship them away to further increase growth. It's important to go through all of these industries, particularly your own industries, but also the private enterprises, and see that they are utilizing their capacity and that they are getting what they need. That might be hard, and one might have to build upon a lot of these extra little lines going around. With the lady, the industrialist, the emphasis should perhaps be on building these more mixed resource lines. This line brings in particular coal to Sherport. That is the main purpose of it, but it still has passengers on it. It would be hard to become an express line, so we're sort of neglecting a bit on this. This line is an express line over here, but with the industrialist, it's perhaps better to build these mixed lines like this, with mixed resource lines, and emphasizing on making sure that the industry is getting whatever they are needing. You see that we had this challenge up here. We built this line, the Knoxville Fayetteville line, and then there would be lumber here and also lumber coming from here, and warehouses in both directions. This would make for a mess. So what we did then, and sometimes the mess of the warehouses is more or less unavoidable, and you have done all these things that you don't want to change, you don't want to build it, then one can, in a last resort, go in here and look at Knoxville, and it's not picking up any lumber in Knoxville, and it's not picking up any lumber at Fayetteville either, because I have disallowed it to pick it up then. That sort of takes care of the problem, but it also means that Memphis is not getting lumber on that line, which isn't that much of a problem because Memphis is having a lot of other lines that comes in with lumbers. But sometimes one have to go and at least check that you don't get these crisscrossing lines going back and forth, to see now what would happen if we were to put the lumber back on. We see now that we have this horrible crisscrossing tendency where everything is coming in from everywhere, so better to avoid that. We have reached the fantastic Glen, number 701, a very nice express train, and then added upon, since we already had this 4-lane tracks, most of the places, not all of the places, and where we only have 2-lane tracks, we use the mixed trains to secure that we're getting both goods and passengers. But with this, I take the innermost line, make it absolutely as fast as possible, put on much less trains, and then add the dining car and the mail car. Don't need the caboose because we already are at maximum efficiency with our personnel, so they don't need it. And then sometimes on these circles you are able to achieve an express bonus. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you don't need an express train. But when I build this express train, it's not so much for the express bonus, but for picking up passengers and to have fast trains. Fast trains mean less trains on the line. You can still do pretty much the same job with less trains. That means less expenses, less personnel, less maintenance, such. And then passengers number are starting really to pick up, and passengers are more lucrative than good freight routes, and then we can make more money. So, and then of course, as we build more advanced industries, we're also getting more advanced flow of goods, more things that needs to be transported back and forth. Now we can see we have made some sort of a horrible mess here. It looks at least horrible here, going back and forth. But there is no demand for clay in all of this region. A little bit up here. See, oh, but this is only getting, there's no mess here, at least. So as long as there is no demand here, this mess wouldn't be messy, because it would only go westward, not east. So that's okay, but still one has to be very careful and check on all of these goods. Even been able to make a little toy factory down there, but that's kind of nice. So looking in the end at our company, we see that we are now making an absolutely killing, over almost 21 million credits balance per week. Traffic jams, not too bad. Take a bit care of that. I think 5-6% is perhaps optimal. At least not 10-15%, because then the lines can sort of break down and you will have a lot of maintenance issues all over, and nobody will be able to reach the stations to be maintained. We're steadily growing. We can see that we are growing more and more as things come along. Looking at the statistics, we can see here now for the last 12 months, perhaps we've been more or less linearly increasing until the last 6 months, and after at that point we can see this tilt of the graph. That's where the full effect of connecting all the cities sort of kick in, and then it slows down a bit in the middle. It sort of flattens out. That's because we have taken up a high amount of loans. We're able to get a huge loan at some point, and then start building double lines, which further increases our growth. But then we are also sort of flattening out on the top, and that's when we started the industrial adventure. Of course, industry increases both passenger growth of cities, and it makes for more goods to be transported. But compared to disconnecting new cities and just having natural growth, it doesn't really give us that much. So we are more or less flattening out. So we wouldn't see that much growth, and we would have to build more lines in order to take advantage of the increase of population in all these cities. You can see the cities are growing very nicely now, and then they would have more and more and more, and then we would have to start to build express lines going back and forth in all sort of different directions in order to keep up with this. So that industry is it's needed. Goods and industry are needed to ensure growth, but we are not really making money on the industry itself. We are making money primarily on transport. We can look at a little bit at the flow of steel. How did we get the steel down here to New Orleans? That was our mission. Getting it through 2 different warehouses here, sort of going through this inner special circle, this Memphis only circle, which now also serves as a connection between Shreveport and New Orleans. All right, then I guess that sums it up, and feel free to like and subscribe and leave some comments, and then I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.